Investing in REITs is a simple method of getting exposure to real estate without having to actually buy a property. In this video, I'm going to discuss how I use REIT investing to generate an income. Owning real estate, whether it's your primary residence or a rental property, is generally considered a good investment. But if the goal is to own real estate to generate an income, then purchasing a rental property is the way to go. But for me, purchasing a rental property can be very expensive because I live in Southern California. Since I live in Southern California, I decided to ask Google, hey, what's the average price of a home here? And here's the answer I got. $619,750. And that's of March 23rd, 2021. So using those numbers, if I'm going to purchase a rental property near where I live, it's going to cost me $619,750 on average for a home. Which means if I'm going to come up with a 20% down payment, I need to save up $123,950. Now, if I'm really frugal and able to do this consistently, let's say I'm able to save $1,000 a month, it's going to take me just over 12 years to save up enough money for that down payment. Now, the good thing is, if I am able to save up that down payment and actually purchase the house, well, then I'll become the owner of that property, which means I can turn around and offer that property for rent. And the people that rent the house from me, they'll be paying me a monthly income. Now, it's not all sunshine and unicorns and rainbows from there. I do have to maintain the property both inside and out. That means I have to make sure that all the fixtures and appliances, the flooring, the windows, the paint on the walls, make sure that's all good. And that includes the outside as well. The exterior needs to be painted. I need to maintain the roof and also the landscaping. And then if there is a problem, I'll need to make those repairs or hire someone to do them for me. Could be electrical, could be plumbing, could be the painting, could be structural. But the bottom line is, with the rental property, I'll be able to collect a rent check every month. So owning a rental property can be very beneficial in that I'm able to collect a rent check every month. But along with being an owner and a landlord, there's a lot of responsibilities that go along with owning that property. Like I need to make sure that the mortgage, the loan that I have for the property gets paid. I have to pay the property tax, and I also need to pay for the insurance premiums to pay for that property. And then once I get everything squared away, then I've got to go ahead and screen the tenants. So I have to find the people that are going to be living in there as my tenants, do background checks and interviews and all that. And then once the tenants get moved in there, I have to expect that there's going to be a call 2 a.m. to fix a toilet or something like that. So there's those responsibilities that go along with owning and renting out a property. Now, what happens if the tenants don't pay and I need to evict them? Well, that can also get pretty messy because after they leave, what I found is that when tenants get evicted, they're angry, and so they tend to leave a lot of trash and mess behind, right? They're not going to clean up after themselves because they don't care about the cleaning deposit at that point. So they're going to leave things behind that I need to go through and get rid of in order for me to get the property ready so I can rent it out to the new family. And this means repairing the walls, repairing the flooring, because I've, paint the walls, get rid of all the marks and scuffing on the floors. Maybe I need to replace windows or window screens. And in fact, I've had to replace missing items. So I've had tenants where they're so angry after I've evicted them, it's their fault because they haven't paid the rent, but they're angry at me for evicting them. And so they end up taking the stove, the oven, some of the appliances, the fixtures, and that's their way of getting back, I guess. So there's pluses and minuses, obviously, to owning a rental property. I know that the goal of many real estate investors is to own multiple properties, but the thought of the advantages and disadvantages and the risk rewards just doesn't seem like a good option for me personally. Don't get me wrong, I like real estate as an investment, but for me, I'm a lot more comfortable trading stocks and options. So I was wondering if there was a way for me to combine my passion for stocks and options with some of the benefits and advantages of owning real estate. And the solution is called a REIT. So what is a REIT? Well, REIT is an acronym. It stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. So now picture, if you will, a company. Let's call it ABC Incorporated, and it happens to own a rental property. Now this company owns and operates that property, kind of like we discussed earlier. Right? So they manage the property. So if there's a loan on that property, they make all the payments. They pay the property taxes and the insurance. They maintain the property, so if there's any repairs or upgrades that need to take place, the REIT takes care of that for us. And they find and screen tenants because their goal is to maintain occupancy. A high occupancy rate means they're collecting checks all the time on a consistent basis. Now, the REIT, they specialize in owning and operating these properties, so they don't just have one, they have multiples. Some of the larger REITs even have hundreds or thousands of properties. So now, how can I, as an investor, take advantage of this? Well, as I mentioned before, I wanted to take my stock and option trading and combine it with owning real estate. So what I could do is own shares of the company. So as the owner of this REIT, I can take advantage now of being involved and having some exposure to real estate, but letting the REIT, in this case ABC Incorporate, manage the property for me. And one of the nice things about a REIT is that they're required by law to distribute 90% of the taxable income back to the shareholders. So the nice benefit is I get some exposure to real estate through the REIT, and as a shareholder, I get to take advantage and receive a portion of the monthly payments as a dividend. So the next question for me is, how do I get shares of stock and become a shareholder of the REIT? For me, the answer is simple. Because I'm an option trader, my goal then would be to sell a cash secure put using the REIT as the underlying stock. Then I would be able to get 100 shares of stock assigned to me as soon as the conditions of my option contract were met. I'm sure there might be some of you thinking that reserving enough money as collateral can be expensive, if not downright prohibitive. So what other methods are there? Because saving enough money as reserve in order to purchase 100 shares is also a non-starter. So there are other ways of taking ownership of shares of a REIT. For instance, you could directly purchase some shares using a limit order. You don't have to buy 100 shares. Maybe you only purchase 10 shares today, but then you can accumulate more later, all the while enjoying the benefits of property ownership through the REIT and collecting the rental income in the form of a dividend. And if the capital requirements to purchase 10 shares or even just 1 share is too much for what you have currently available, then consider purchasing fractional shares, because you still qualify as a direct shareholder and owner of the REIT, and as such you're able to take advantage of real estate ownership but on a smaller scale, and you still collect the rental income in the form of a dividend. Since I talked about REITs as a way of combining stock and option trading with owning real estate and some of the benefits therein, let me take a few more moments and just mention the different types of REITs that are available. Because REITs come in all sizes and shapes, and some of them even focus on special types of properties that they own. For example, there's residential REITs. These REITs typically own and operate multifamily rental apartment buildings, as well as manufactured housing. An example of this type of REIT would be Invitation Homes Incorporated, stock symbol INVH. There's office REITs, which, as the name implies, invest in office buildings. They receive rental income from tenants who have usually signed long-term leases. An example of a REIT that specializes in offices would be something like Boston Properties Incorporated, stock symbol BXP. There are retail REITs which focus their time and energy in shopping malls and freestanding retail buildings. An example of a REIT that specializes in retail properties would be Kimco Realty Corporation, stock symbol KIM. And there are healthcare REITs that invest in real estate that used for hospitals, medical centers, nursing facilities, and retirement homes. An example of a REIT that specializes in healthcare properties would be HealthPeak Properties Incorporated, stock symbol PEAK. So I do own REITs in my portfolio because I like some of the benefits that real estate ownership provides to me. The REIT allows me not to have to worry about the property itself, right? So I don't have to do any of those day-to-day maintenance activities, such as fixing toilets. I don't need to worry about repairs or upgrades. The REIT takes care of that for me. But there are some negatives to owning real estate through a REIT. The first one that always comes to mind for me is that I don't get to enjoy the property appreciation. So as the value of the property appreciates over time, all of those benefits are enjoyed by the REIT and not passed on to me, a shareholder. But then the obvious benefit for me that I enjoy is that I get consistent and steady dividend payments from ownership of the REIT. Just a quick note about some other REIT info. So I didn't even talk about all the different REIT types. I mentioned some of the more popular ones, but there's others that include diversified REITs, industrial REITs, mortgage-based REITs, and specialty REITs. I mentioned earlier that I like REITs because it allows me to combine my love for stock and option trading with the ability to invest in real estate. And along with that, I'm able to get real estate-based income from these REITs. So as a result, I like to include REITs as part of my buy and hold portfolios. This is the longer-term stocks that I'm going to be holding for my retirement. And in particular, I like the REITs because they provide me with a steady long-term income. If you like this information that I provided in this video, do me a huge favor and smash the like button. If you're still watching this video, I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I also want to wish you good luck and lots of success with all of your trades.